And on today's show, why foreign nationals generate such large cases. Part 3 of this week's series on the foreign national market in America with foreign national expert and certified financial planner, Carey Rokovich. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Insmark, Life Specs, and Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 3, Carey.
Thanks, Steve.
I have to say, I am on the learning curve of my life. I think I know this market, and I guess the world is shrinking, and we are taking on huge cases. We're going to get to that in a moment because some of these cases are gigantic. I noticed one of your protocols from an underwriting struck me funny. I mean, 2 days ago, we talked about not soliciting in Mexico. It's a crime.
That's right.
Wow. Here's another one. I did not realize you generally, in general terms, you generally cannot underwrite politicians of foreign nationals. And the reason is?
Just a mortality risk with a politician from a foreign country. You know, just the publicity, many times, not just a politician, possibly like a famous actor or a famous singer from a foreign country who come in. We may not be able to get them through the underwriting hurdles that we need to do. That's
so they have
right.
extraordinary mortality because people want to take them out? I guess,
Possibly. You know, unfortunately, yes, that could be the case.
Wow. I mean, so we have stats on stuff like this. So all of a sudden, we have vocational hazards in the United States. I never thought being a politician was one of them.
Occupational hazards can exist. That's correct. And they could be a little bit different depending upon the different countries.
Well, when I'm looking at, and we talked about this a couple days ago, when we're looking at an exemption as low as $60,000, there's exposure here, and there's a good reason to plan.
That's
but
right.
I did not realize, and we talked yesterday a little bit about the volume of cases. There are really a lot happening out here, and I think we're missing it as an American advisor to not get up to speed on this. And remember, you could Google some of this or get your LinkedIn account to start addressing this as a forte, and then tie in with people like Carey and her team. They're in the they're advanced market consultants. This is all they do. They do other areas too, of course. Mm-hmm. But this area of niche market, which is Carey's, is a huge issue. And I think you could start advertising business to consumer, B2C business, to see if you could pick up some traffic on this. Remember, Google is being just completely trolled by all over the world. All of a sudden, we're really having a market that we may be able to actually introduce into our practice that could be huge for us. Talk to me again. You know, one of the big things that cases are is because of the 60,000. It's so low.
Right.
We don't have any UMDs here. We don't have QDOT. QDOT planning will defer taxes till the second death. There's a lot of things, but it doesn't really take care of my problem.
Right.
So walk me through some of the average size cases, because this is what was astounding. I'm thinking, well, are we making a couple grand here? What are we doing? No, this is extraordinary size cases.
That's absolutely right. And so let's walk through the real estate, the opportunity here with real estate, because this is, honestly, this is kind of a bread and butter place for this foreign nationals market. If you want to move into this niche market, this is a great place to start the sales practices for foreign nationals. With only having that $60,000 exemption, we see time and time again. We had, I think it was a gentleman from Thailand who came and purchased a vacation home in Colorado, about $3 million, paid cash for the home. If he were to die this year, taxes due would be close, I think it's close to $1.1 million. So a little bit over a third of the value of that home would be due in U.S. estate taxes, just from that one simple purchase that he made of that vacation home in Colorado.
Well, now let me ask you this, because we've been talking the last 3 days now about the actual U.S. taxation issues. Mm-hmm. Is there any reverted back to the country of domicile, or does he owe any taxes back there because of these transactions?
Absolutely, he could. That's absolutely right. While there are plenty of countries around the globe that do not impose death and estate taxes, there's also a handful that do. So that's the whole thing, is you're really moving into planning from two sides when we're dealing with this market.
Yeah, I'm thinking most advisors are sitting there going, okay, I actually understand the U.S. code.
Right.
How could I ever learn all the codes from foreign lands? There's their actual income. But that's where we have teams like yourself. This is all your forte in this area is so great that you even have to know other people's codes, other countries' rules of engagement for revenues, for their version of the Internal Revenue Service.
We have a lot of that information, mainly for the countries that we see so much business come from. But
What are those countries,
absolutely
by
right.
the way?
Probably our top three, Mexico and China are probably number one, and then number three would be Canada. Mexico and China will probably continue to, go back and forth as to who is going to be the biggest player in this market.
Now, when you're in this market, there's language barriers, right?
Absolutely.
And I think in China alone, there's probably at least 4 major dialects, not to mention the subdialects. So do you have people that you deal with in your organization that actually know where to go to outsource language issues?
Oh, absolutely. Our international underwriting team can translate multiple languages for APSs and different reports that come into underwriting. And there is some that we don't have in-house, so they may have to go to a third-party translator to get an APS taken care of. But we can always help take care of that if the business comes to us. But yes, there's definitely language barriers. We do have multiple languages in-house. A lot of they can call out and request for medicals from the third country, medicals from here. So there's a lot that goes into the underwriting.
We come back from the break. We're going to continue this whole issue about some of the size of these cases, how we engage with this, and how you might be able to use this as a really huge business builder in your practice. We'll be right back. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to the second segment. Of course, we're with Carey Rokovich, CLU, ChFC, CFP, and foreign national expert. I have to say, I'm getting my mind somewhat blown by all the intricacies, and there are, and I'm thinking I'm so glad that you have a team that's proprietary that does this, because I can't imagine any American advisor. I love the opportunity. It sounds so huge, but I don't know if I could micromanage. I'm still trying to learn the tax code 30 years later, in my practice, and now I wouldn't want to have to learn a U.S., some foreign national tax code. Now, when we're talking about this, I'm looking at, the difference between, you said real estate, the first segment, so I'm thinking, okay, is that the bulk? Is that why people are here? That's the draw, that's the lure?
It's, the lure is the U.S. dollar still. Even though those of us here may not all believe it, but that is the lure. So it's having something in that U.S. dollar denomination, whether it be real estate, it's a great place to vacation too. Investments, businesses, that really is the lure. Yes.
When I'm looking at the actual real estate over, because a lot of people have real estate, so they're kind of cash poor.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're kind of stuck. So here we have this idea of how can I leverage and protect my assets when everything's tied up in real estate, and that's why an advisor could have a huge opportunity here, not only with life insurance, but some tactical issues with other tax advantage products, I'm sure. Talk to me a little bit about when people are really cash poor, really wealthy, but they're really cash poor. How do you introduce the concept? Is life insurance an okay concept? Are they okay with listening to this?
Wow, that's a great question. It really depends on the country, because there are some countries where citizens may already have a dislike or not fond of a life insurance product. But when you can walk them through the alternatives, sometimes life insurance will win just because of the simplicity of the planning that has to go into place. So take, for instance, the real estate example. There is a possibility that someone could plan far ahead and get into some multi-jurisdictional planning for both their home country and the U.S., to try to turn that real estate property into an intangible property that would not be pulled into their estate at death. So you may see, think about Russian nesting dolls. Let's say first layer is that foreign trust. And then the foreign trust is a partner in a foreign partnership. And then that foreign partnership is in turn a partner in a U.S. partnership, which owns the real estate that our foreign national wants to purchase and use as a vacation home. Okay, that is a multi-layer entity, a multi-structured entity that could possibly turn that home into intangible properties. It's not bulletproof by any means, but we do see structures like this coming through to help avoid U.S. estate taxes.
Now, I noticed in one of your briefs, there are certain countries that will not allow us to write life insurance. They want their own.
Oh, that's
life
absolutely
insurance.
right.
Talk to me. Give me an example of that. Give me a country, and then give me is there anything you can do about that?
There are some countries that will not allow residents of the country to buy life insurance outside of their home country. So even if you're a U.S. citizen, and you live in Japan, you wouldn't be able to purchase our U.S. policy. It's the residency, again, comes down to that's the number one test.
Okay, am I hearing a distinction here? I have an American residency, but I am not an American citizen.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm American residency, but I am a Japanese citizen, and the Japanese code does not allow them to purchase insurance outside any of the carriers or reinsurance treaties, like Nippon Life is the first one that comes to my mind, from Japan.
I am glad you asked me that question. Just last week, I had in my office a producer, and we were chatting about an opportunity that she thought was going to be a fail. It indeed was a Japanese citizen. Japan will not allow us to sell our policies to Japanese residents. And this is why I say it's all important to try to understand the difference between residency and citizenship. Our Japanese citizen was a resident of New York State. So he's not living in Japan primarily. Permanent home is New York State. We are able to consider him for coverage with a U.S. policy, even though he's a Japanese citizen.
And what was the reason you could make that bridge to get
Comes
there?
down to residency. He's a permanent U.S. resident.
So so let me make sure I understood. So if I am a permanent U.S. resident, that may trump the actual Japanese restriction in this case you're talking about.
That's correct.
It doesn't matter what state. This just happened to be New York.
It comes down to residency. That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so if people get into the word permanent resident, that kind of changes their status, and
That's
then these
absolutely
laws.
right.
Now, do you have people that actually make this change so they can do some planning?
You know,
I'm just curious.
You gotta wonder. I am sure that there is someone out there who would go ahead and change their citizenship. I can't see someone picking up and changing their residency just to purchase the policy. But, there have been cases where folks have said, wouldn't it be easier if they just changed their citizenship? And there are times where, maybe it would be easier for the planning, depending upon family dynamics.
Could they do dual citizenship?
Oh, absolutely. They could do dual citizenship. But then again, you're still having to abide by the laws of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, and your broker-dealer compliance department. And now I have to add another one, the carrier who's writing this business. Missed an episode? Just hop out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.